I'm Alana Hadid, and this is what I have to say on Muslim Girl.
We're getting real with Alana on her Palestinian identity, past relationships, and why she refuses to be silenced on Palestine.
I'm Alana Hadid. I'm a clothing designer and co-founder of my brand Lotta Tress in Los Angeles. I'm half American, half Palestinian. My father is Palestinian. He was born in Nazareth, but his family was based in Safed, which is in now Palestine. I mean, well, it is Palestine to us, but it's in Israel.
I mean, same. My mom was born in Jerusalem, but my family is from Deir Yassin, and it's really crazy because any person that I meet today, like any Palestinian that's like my age or my generation, and they say they're from Deir Yassin, we're inevitably related somehow.
Of
like,
course.
you know, like we go back the family tree, and like there's like a cousin, a grandparent, like somewhere, you know.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we're all related.
I feel like that you especially have been so vocal, and your father have been so vocal about your Palestinian roots and your family story. So what is that story?
Well, my grandmother comes from a very prominent family in Nazareth, the Dahers. She went home to her family home in Nazareth to have my father. They had taken in I believe, a Polish family who had come as refugees, and they were living in the guest house. So when my grandmother went to go have my father, she took all of her children, of course, and my grandfather was working. And I mean, basically one day he came back and they had, moved into the entire house. What was crazy about hearing that story was I was flashed back to all these stories of my family about how it was so easy for someone to take their home. And I was seeing it is 2021 and this is still happening. This has been going on for 70 plus years. People have been displaced. Palestinians are being displaced from their homes, and it's happening now, and it's still state sanctioned.
Why do you feel like it's so important for people to be aware of what's happening in Palestine right now?
This is a humanitarian crisis. I mean, I can't say it enough. So it's important that people understand that this is not one side against another side and us like debating our views. We are pointing out that there are people who are being mistreated in a very horrible way for many, 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 many years. We want equality, and we want to be treated correctly. And we want the people who are living in these countries to be allowed to live like they live in a sovereign country.
Is there something that changed for you that made you want to become more vocal?
I did have conversations with people in college about it, and then I just kind of did what a lot of people do, and they go, well, it's not here. And then I was like, wait, I'm not paying enough attention. I started meeting a lot more Israelis and having a lot closer relationship with my family members living in Israel and Palestine. A couple years ago, I started dating an Israeli. So I got like a full on real view from Israel, which I had never and probably would have never gotten if not for him.
Yeah, I'm super curious about your relationship with an Israeli man. What was that? Like, what was the situation? What was that like for you?
He was actually living in Tel Aviv. He lives and works in Tel Aviv. I was obviously incredibly nervous the first time that I went. Like, I would say slightly traumatic, honestly. Like, I wasn't expecting for people to give me a big hug and say like, welcome home. Like, I was detained basically. Like, I wasn't detained in that way, but they routinely send people to what they call the office. They ask you a lot of questions. They asked me what my father's name was, what my grandfather's name was, what year he was born. It was only until I explained to them that I was here to see my boyfriend who was Israeli. Realistically, Tel Aviv is amazing. Like, I'm not gonna try to say something bad about it. However, when you're there, you get like caught up and you forget. There's like all these people like right down the way that cannot move through their society at the same pace. The universal idea that every Israeli person is anti-Palestinian is just not true, as there's a lot of people who are very pro-Palestine. It is really the government that isn't.
And the vice versa of that, as I'm sure you've been experiencing, is people conflating being pro-Palestinian with being anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah, but also with people saying that if you're pro-Palestinian, you are part of Hamas. You can't equate a person or a citizen with their government.
What do you wish people would just understand from what you have to say?
That by speaking about Palestine that I'm imploring people to hate Jews, which I couldn't possibly have less of an idea of a want for. I hate having to take time away from speaking about being pro-Palestine and what it means and what Palestine means to try to say that what I'm not.
What's the biggest concern that you feel in speaking out for Palestine?
There's been a lot of focus on my family and our advocacy, and that takes focus away from Palestine. And I don't like that. I like that people are talking about it because we're talking about it, but I want it to be about the message and not about the messenger.
I'm curious, what has your dad's reaction been? Like watching you and your sisters be vocal, like has he been worried or has he like said anything about that?
He's proud. He's super proud, and he knows that we can all take care of ourselves. I mean, we really do also think about what we're posting. A lot of people are like, you're just posting whatever you want. You know, there's been a long thought process on why I'm posting that and what I think that people are going to get out of it. I want to amplify all sorts of voices that are saying something that I think that are really important. And I'm willing to suffer the consequences, knowing that what I'm doing, I know is something that I think is really important.
You definitely have this like place in the culture where it has allowed you to be very influential when you do speak out about injustice. And I'm really curious what that blowback has been like for you.
I've gotten death threats, I've gotten threats of violence, I've gotten a lot of really horrible, ugly slurs. You know, I've definitely pissed off a lot of friends. The irony is the same people who go to my Instagram to see what's happening in the world and really trust me as like a news source think that I'm lying now. There are very hard truths that are happening now that in regards to Israel that a lot of people just really don't want to hear. The reality is Israel is really oppressive to a lot of people. That doesn't mean Israeli people are bad, doesn't mean Jewish people are bad, that doesn't mean anything about the people. It's, you know, talking about the fact that it's a governmental system that has been in place for a long time that needs to change, and it needs to change here and a lot of other places as well.
What's the one message you want people to remember about Palestine?
Talk to a Palestinian. Talk to an Israeli if you've never spoken to one. To have a conversation, really learn what the realities are. I want people to take away the fact that Palestinians are humans. Palestinians are humans and really deserve to be treated as such. And they need to be treated with equality, and they need to be treated with respect, and they need to be treated as humans. Our rights and our equality is not at the expense of yours. I don't think that denying Palestinians oppression is going to help anyone in the long run. It's only going to hurt Palestinians, and it's only going to hurt you later for realizing you were on the wrong side of history.
If you want to support Palestinians in Gaza right now, then definitely donate to baitalmal.org and check out their campaign for Gaza on muslimgirl.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us across social media for updates when Muslim women talk back.